The Kingdom Hearts series are famous or infamous for their side games in between numbered titles, which expand the story greatly and for some make it extremely convoluted. What makes the numbered titles so big with its story, especially when looking at Kingdom Hearts 3, is the fact that there were one or many side titles that opened and pushed many plot points for the numbered titles to finish. The emotional payoff with things like Roxas and Shionne's return, or the Wayfinder Trio's return, or things like the conflict with Xehanort came from these side titles. Without them, we would never have known about Shionne, or the Wayfinder Trio, or even Master Xehanort. Nomura has stated roughly a year ago that there would be at least one Kingdom Hearts side game before Kingdom Hearts 4. A part of this community I know is upset with this fact, but I think it will be a great thing due to the fact that it's the side games that help make the story so big and as great as it is. Also, after the release of Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind, Nomura has said that the menu art, a drawing of the Kingdom Hearts 3 start screen, Sora standing in front of Kairi who is holding a Paopu fruit, for Remind serves as a foundation for the next game. This has people saying that the next Kingdom Hearts game will be a Kairi-centered game. I know people were saying that the next game will be a Yozora game like Verum Rex, but the nature of the Kingdom Hearts secret bosses that push the plot don't become featured prominently until 2 games later, which is why I think Yozora will come after the Kairi game, especially since at the end of the Limit Cut episode, the Fairy Godmother says that Riku and 2 others hold the key to saving Sora, and right after she says that, it cuts to Kairi, who believes that something in her heart will lead the group to Sora. So that brings us to the subject of this video. This will be my own idea / concept to the next Kingdom Hearts game, which I will call Kingdom Hearts Reconnect. Now, this is a video made just for fun and essentially is a humongous fanfic of how I think the story will progress. You could say I got a bit of inspiration from this video from Sir Skyward, who made a video called Kingdom Hearts 3 Rewritten, which is basically him rewriting Kingdom Hearts 3 to how he would have liked it. So shout out to Sir Skyward for part of the inspiration. Now, this game could also technically be called Kingdom Hearts Link to Sky, and frankly it's just because this great person named Apchico, I'm sorry if I butchered that name, made this cool intro that I found on Twitter, and here's a link to that if you want to see it. It'll be down below. I will be discussing the game's gameplay, story, extras, post-game, and whether or not there will be a secret ending. Let's also establish some ground rules before I start. I will not be putting whatever I want into the story. I will be essentially guessing on how the story will play out while being as realistic to Kingdom Hearts' style as I can. So some weird concept like, I don't know, Chirithy summoning a Keyblade and laying waste to all of his enemies will not be happening. I will not be changing the story prior to the start of the game, meaning how the Limit Cut episode, Remind scenario, and the secret episode play out will remain the same, and I will do my best to have it make as much sense as I can, considering that there is both a good and a bad ending. Lastly, please understand that I have no idea how the story will play out, so if you believe that the story will play out differently, that's okay. Please tell me how you think it will in the comment section below, and I will be respectful to all of your ideas, and I only ask that you be respectful to my ideas. With that said, let's get on with this story. Kingdom Hearts Reconnect.
I'm sorry I left without saying goodbye. I want to get out there and do my part to help.
They don't really mean, oh, you're only everything I ever dreamed of. higher level. All you gotta do is say the word, you know I follow. If you wanna take it to an even higher level, if you wanna make it happen, nothing's impossible. All you gotta do is say the word, you won't follow. If you wanna make it happen, nothing's impossible. I want you in a lifetime. So if you don't think twice, baby, I don't wanna know. Baby, I don't wanna know. Everything is just fine. But if you're gonna think twice, baby, I don't wanna know. Baby, I don't wanna know. Don't think twice. Don't think twice. Don't think twice, baby. Don't think twice. Don't think twice. Don't think twice. Don't think twice, baby. Don't think twice. Kiss me once. Kiss me twice. Kiss me 3 times. Cross the line. Kiss me once. Kiss me twice. Kiss me 3 times. Be mine. I don't wanna know. I don't wanna know. I don't wanna know. I don't wanna know.
Our story begins after the intro with Kairi sleeping in Radiant Garden. She dreams of herself in the final world. She is running around looking for Sora when she hears a voice. Suddenly, the area grows dark, and Kairi's Station of Awakening appears. Before her shows 3 different choices. One shows a crown, one shows a heartless sigil, and the last shows a seashell wayfinder. These choices will determine your stats. Picking the heartless sigil will give you health and attack heavy stats. The wayfinder will give you magic heavy stats, and the crown will give you balance stats. Kairi is then presented with another 3 options. One choice shows Donald's staff, the other shows Goofy's shield, and the last shows Sora's kingdom key. Picking the shield will give Kairi support abilities early like Leaf Bracer and Second Chance. The staff will give magic abilities like Fire Boost, and Sora's Kingdom Key will give Kairi attack abilities early. Once Kairi makes her decision, there's a flash of light and she realizes that there's a path leading from her Station of Awakening to Riku's. When she walks over to Riku, she is approached by shadows. This is where the tutorial comes in. This will allow the player to experience some of Kairi's fighting styles, and get a feel for the base combat. Defeating the shadows will give Kairi access to fire. Afterwards, there's a path that opens up from Riku's station to Sora's. When she makes it there, she finds herself face to face with a Dark Inferno. After defeating the Dark Inferno, it drops in a pool of darkness. Kairi is convinced that it may lead to Sora and jumps in and sees some images. She sees the moment Sora left, a man who looks like Riku, and Sora, but someone was behind him and darkness rolled around him. Kairi wakes up in shock. She is initially pretty excited, but is quickly calmed down by Ansem the Wise, who tells her whatever she did in her dream seemed to have started to show something, but it went fuzzy as soon as Kairi woke up. Riku and the Fairy Godmother are told about this, and the Fairy Godmother explains that she will be looking into hers and Riku's dreams as they both hold a key to saving Sora. The group makes their way to the mysterious tower. and Kairi explains the situation to Master Yen Sid. Seeing that this is the first time that Kairi is seeing Master Yen Sid since Sora disappeared, she starts to let her emotions get the best of her, and she interrogates Master Yen Sid and asks him as to why he never said anything about the consequences of the power of waking, and why it took him a year to try and make an effort himself to save Sora. To answer the first part, Master Yen Sid explains that he has no excuse. He made a mistake not informing someone as headstrong as Sora about the consequences of misusing the power, and for the second part, Yen Sid says that they needed to wait long enough for Sora's heart to be in a position to be saved, as after Sora disappeared, his heart essentially wandered in a state of nothingness for a year and was in no position to even be found. But now Sora's heart at this point should have appeared somewhere where his heart can be connected with. Riku calms Kairi down for being so angry, as Sora knew that would happen to him when he saved her, but he chose that saving her was more important to him. Yen Sid tells Kairi that now she has a chance to save him, since she is one of the keys needed to save Sora. Yen Sid explains that since both Riku and Kairi have dreams related to Sora, they can use that as a bridge past the realm of death to where Sora is, since sleep and death have an occasional crossover. The fairy godmother explains that since Riku's dreams show a vision where Sora is, they can solidify their destination, and Kairi's dreams of the final world and Sora can take them right to where Sora is. Riku then explains that he heard that there was a third key. Yen Sid states that the third key will be found along the way. Kairi expresses her eagerness to go, but Yen Sid states that he needs her to be more powerful. He states that they don't know what's waiting for them, and they need to make sure that everyone on board will be strong enough to handle everything. Yen Sid tells Kairi that he would like for her to visit different worlds, as that was how Sora was able to get so strong, and feels like the same can happen for Kairi. This is when Terra, Ven, and Aqua arrive from their trips to the Realm of Darkness looking for Sora, obviously producing no results. Riku then offers to take her to different worlds on the Gummy ship, but Aqua has a better idea. Kairi goes out to the entrance where Aqua trains her. She wants to see where Kairi is with her Keyblade skills. After a brief sparring match, Aqua teaches Kairi how to use limits. The limits you start with are just brief attacks to deal decent damage to enemies quickly. Aqua then teaches Kairi about Keyblade transformations. Terra also helps with this training session. At this point, all Kairi can learn to do at this point is transform her Destiny's Embrace into a Keyblade glider, and with that you can access the world map. Initially, only 2 worlds can be seen: the Mysterious Tower, and a new world called Dunbrock. When Kairi touches down, she lands in a forest and encounters a Will-o'-the-Wisp. The Will-o'-the-Wisp is surrounded by Heartless. After Kairi deals with the Heartless, she is then guided by the Will-o'-the-Wisp out of the forest. If you don't know what they are, if you've never watched Brave, they are entities who guide you towards your fate. The Will-o'-the-Wisp leads Kairi to the archery tournament, where suitors are currently competing for Princess Merida's hand. Kairi learns from the locals that the men shooting bows and arrows are trying to win so that they can marry the princess, and Kairi notices that one of the suitors seems off, and Kairi can detect that the suitor is so caught up in his desire to marry the princess is having his heart being taken over by darkness. He is using darkness to assist him, and Kairi notices Merida is becoming increasingly upset by this, and she doesn't want to be forced into marriage. Kairi could in a sense relate to Merida, as her position as a Princess of Heart has forced others around her to treat her like some kind of delicate flower, and wasn't able to put forth any effort herself. Kairi openly states how she thinks it's wrong to force a fate upon someone. This inspires Merida to take a stand and shoot for her own hand. After firing bullseye in all 3 targets, Merida's mother gets up to argue with her daughter, but at the same time, young Macintosh turns into a Heartless due to his anger and summons a horde of Heartless and tries to take Merida. Merida and her mother flee from the area, and Kairi steps in to deal with the enemies. After dispatching them, she notices Merida running away in the forest in tears. Kairi is approached by Merida's father, who explains more of the situation to her. Kairi chases after Merida and finds her returning with a cake given to her by the witch. Kairi introduces herself to Merida, and Merida takes the time to thank her for encouraging words. During this time, Kairi can sense that Merida's heart is pure, just like hers. Merida and Kairi head back to the kingdom, and Merida's mother eats a cake and she turns into a bear. Kairi tries to go back to the witch hut where Merida and her mother try to undo what's happened to her, but she is gone. Kairi decides to investigate the forest more and see if she can find anything. It's at this point that the rest of the movie plays out off screen until the climax. While searching in the forest, Kairi starts to worry about Sora and wonders how he is doing. Kairi rushes back to Merida and notices Mordor, the villainous bear that was in Brave, is approaching Merida and her family and friends. Kairi notices that Mordor is corrupted by darkness and is too strong for anyone else to try and face her. It is now a boss fight between Kairi and Mordor. After winning, the bear tries to lunge for Merida, but Eleanor steps in the way and the two fight. After Mordor's death, Eleanor turns back into a human thanks to the light within her daughter. With that, Dunbrock is complete and she gets a new Keyblade called the Arrow of Fate, and she can now transform her Keyblade into a bow that fires magical arrows. Kairi moves on to the next world, which is Olympus. Kairi makes her way to the town of Thebes and sees the statue of Hercules, as well as newly erected statues of Sora, Donald, and Goofy, the other three heroes of Thebes who helped Hercules save this town and the gods from Hades. Someone tells Kairi if she is interested in meeting Hercules and possibly the other heroes, she should head over to the Colosseum. Kairi makes her way over there and encounters Phil and Hercules. She introduces herself and asks if Hercules truly knows Sora. Hercules is surprised to hear that name again and asks how he is doing. Kairi then tells Herc and Phil what happened to Sora and how she plans to get strong enough to save him. Phil suggests that Kairi participate in some training in the Colosseum, as Sora had been doing that since his journey started. After a barrel minigame, Hades appears and tells Herc he will not give up in trying to destroy him. Kairi, in response to this, summons her Keyblade, which causes Hades to point out that he recognizes the Keyblade, and at this point is sick of having Keyblade-wielding nutjobs wrecking his plans. Hades then wonders what happened to Sora. Kairi only says he's not here. This causes Kairi to get pretty upset with him and prepares to attack him, but is stopped by Hercules. Hercules tells Kairi that she will have her chance to fight him in the tournament. Kairi proceeds to blaze through the tournament and makes it to the final round, which is against Hades. Before the match starts, Hades begins to try and make Kairi doubt herself, saying that Sora has put him through the ringer many times before, but there is no way she is up at his level and could even come close to a challenge. Kairi ignores what he says and fights Hades. Kairi wears Hades down and turns her back on him, thinking that the fight is over, but Hades tries to throw a fireball at Kairi with her back turned away, only for it to be blocked by Herc, who then grabs Hades and tosses him far away. Kairi starts to feel down on herself as someone once again had to come in and save her, but Herc reassures her that it's okay to receive help from friends, as Herc has saved Sora's skin just as much as Sora has saved his skin. It's what friends do. She wishes Kairi good luck with finding Sora, and Kairi gets the Olympia Keyblade and can now transform her Keyblade into fighting gloves to have Kairi fight like a brawler. Kairi makes her way to Twilight Town to try and take a breather and collect herself. She also stops by to see Roxas, Xion, Naminé, Hayner, Pence, and Olette to see how they're coming along into diving into Roxas and Xion's memories. They inform her that there was no luck, but Kairi mentions that her and Riku hold the keys to saving Sora. Hayner, Pence, and Olette talk about how they can't wait to see Sora again, and Roxas and Xion express that they themselves also miss Sora. Hayner, Pence, and Olette even openly reminisce about how they first met Sora. Because of all this Sora talk, it makes Kairi feel down again, and she wonders if there are any clues hidden in Twilight Town that she could maybe look at, since Sora spent a lot of time here. It is at this point that Roxas remembers that Sora stayed asleep in Twilight Town, recovering his memories at the old mansion. It is at this point that Naminé remembers that Ansem put some data inside of Sora as a way of clearing his conscience. Kairi and the group make their way to the mansion, all the while being intercepted by Heartless and Nobodies. Before Kairi can enter the mansion, she is intercepted by a giant berserker Nobody, which she quickly disposes of. Kairi and the group make their way to the castle to Ansem's old computer. Pence tries to see if he can access the data from Ansem's old computer, but is unable to access the data from that computer as the computer Radiant Garden is the administrator. Kairi calls Ienzo on her gummy phone to speak with Ansem the Wise. Ansem explains that he put a code inside of Sora during his sleep as he felt that Sora could possibly bring back those who were lost. Ansem says that it will take him a while to unzip and unload the data he placed in Sora, and he tells her to check back in a while. Kairi and company make their way back to the market street where they run into Lee and Isa. Kairi shows visible fear as this is the first time she has seen Isa since he was an enemy back at the Keyblade graveyard. Lee explains that he has changed now and mainly did what he did because he wanted to find a lost friend, and he helped play a part in Roxas and Shion's return. Kairi understands, and the group gets some sea salt ice cream and eats at the clock tower. Lee remarks how it must have been the first time Kairi was eaten up at the clock tower like that, but she tells the group that she actually ate up there before with Sora after he saved her. They just couldn't see her. Kairi expresses her desire to save Sora as she feels responsible like it's all her fault. If only she had been a little stronger. Roxas reassures her that she shouldn't feel like that as he understands what it's like to be on the observer's side as a friend makes a sacrifice, and Lee remarks he also knows how it feels. Roxas, Lee, and Shion express their desire to help Kairi save Sora. Kairi then leaves the world to continue her mission to get stronger. Kairi makes her way to a place known as Kokowa Town. She notices that the beach gives her a similar feeling to watching the ocean waves at Destiny Islands. Kairi notices a little girl and a blue creature approaching them. The girl introduces herself as Lilo. Lilo explains that she thought Kairi was some kind of alien, so she wanted to investigate. She and Kairi introduce themselves and Stitch when suddenly a horde of Heartless show up. Kairi summons her Keyblade and Stitch notices that and flashes back. Out of instinct, Stitch helps Kairi fight the Heartless. Afterwards, Stitch confronts Kairi and says Terra, Ven, Aqua, and Sora's name while pointing at her Keyblade. She asks Stitch how she knows Terra, Ven, Aqua, and Sora, and Stitch brings out his Wayfinder. Kairi recognizes this and reaches into her back pocket for hers, but remembers that she last gave it to Sora. She tells Stitch that she is a friend of Terra, Ven, Aqua, and Sora. Lilo explains that Stitch is an alien who is an experiment along with 625 other experiments who have all found new homes for themselves. That makes Kairi think about Roxas, Shion, and Naminé, as when they were born, they didn't have homes, but now they do. Kairi goes with Lilo and Stitch back to Lilo's house where they are approached by Leroy. Lilo explains who Leroy is and how he should be in prison. Leroy runs away with the arrival of the Grand Councilwoman, who notices Kairi's Keyblade and points its similarity to someone else she met before. Kairi mentions that she is a friend of Aqua, and the Grand Councilwoman explains that if she is an ally of Aqua, she can trust Kairi. She asks Kairi to find the clones of Leroy around the area and take them into custody. After finding half of them, Kairi meets up with the Grand Councilwoman, Lilo, and Stitch, who are standing in front of Leroy, clearly being corrupted by darkness, who emerges with the remaining Leroy clones to become Dark Leroy. With Stitch's help, Kairi is able to dispose of Leroy, and the Grand Councilwoman thanks Kairi for her help, and Kairi gets a Keyblade called Ohana that can transform into a guitar that can create a ring of fire energy that affects the people inside it. Kairi makes her way to a world known as Festive Road, which is located in New Orleans. Kairi notices two talking frogs asking for help from being eaten by alligators. Kairi steps in and deals with the alligators. Kairi asks how they can talk, and Tiana explains the situation to her. Now for this world, the majority of it I anticipate that we would just follow through the plot of the Princess and the Frog movie, except of course adding Kairi herself in, but she will periodically leave the group to look for Dr. Falliser, as she can cover more ground. Kairi, while searching for the Shadow Man, meets up with Mama Odie. Mama Odie can tell what Kairi desires in her heart and wishes her good luck with finding the person she has lost, and gives a cryptic warning. Sometimes the light can be scarier than the darkness. Dr. Falliser appears before Kairi and the group and can sense that she is not only from another world, but has a strong light. The Shadow Man drags her into a voodoo realm, while Kairi is forced to find her way out while fighting voodoo-based creatures and a boss. Kairi eventually finds her way out of the voodoo realm just as Dr. Falliser has Tiana pinned down. Kairi takes her Keyblade and shoots a light beam to break the talisman that Dr. Falliser was wearing and releases the voodoo demon spirits that drag the Shadow Man away, or at least they tried to. Instead, he uses darkness to corrupt and absorb the voodoo demon spirits and becomes a huge darkness monster. Kairi eventually defeats him and the Shadow Man disappears. After that, Tiana and the prince turn back into humans. While everyone is celebrating, Mama Odie appears before Kairi and talks with her. Kairi asks what Mama Odie meant by saying that light can be more dangerous than darkness. Mama Odie says she can tell Kairi is a pure light like Tiana. Kairi said she could tell Tiana was like her, and Mama Odie says that a pure light can be most careless. She must be careful with her light just like how Princess Tiana must be careful with hers. With that, Kairi gets the Royal Curse Keyblade, which can turn her Keyblade into a harpoon-like weapon and pick up enemies and bring them to you from afar, and is treated kind of like a polearm at close range. Kairi makes her way to a world known as Motuni. There she meets Moana while sailing on her grandma's boat while Kairi is still flying on her glider. The ocean picks up a huge tidal wave and knocks Kairi into Moana and accidentally knocks her boat off course and makes it land on Maui's island. Kairi apologizes, but Moana quickly states that it wasn't her fault as it was the ocean. She explains that the ocean had chosen Moana to save the world by having Maui return the heart of the goddess Te Fiti. Kairi notices the similarities to that and when she was in possession of Naminé's heart, and how, like Sora, was in possession of her heart. Moana states that if the ocean threw Kairi at her, then the ocean must feel like Kairi should help out. At this point, Maui appears. He introduces himself to Moana and Kairi in a braggadocious kind of way. Moana tells Maui that he needs to come with her to return the heart of Te Fiti. Maui states his desire to stay away from Te Fiti and tries to smooth talk his way with Moana's boat, but Kairi stops him. Kairi summons her Keyblade to stop him in his tracks. Maui speeds past Kairi and tries to sail away on her boat. Kairi and Moana try to reach him, but stop shortly after they step into the water. The ocean suddenly picks the both of them up and drags them to her boat. Maui tries to leave, but the ocean doesn't let him. When they are on the boat, Kairi reminisces about the raft that her, Sora, and Riku were going to use and when they wanted to leave the outside world. Moana takes the time to explain the full story to Kairi and why they need to return the heart, but Maui objects to this, saying that the heart is a beacon of death. Kairi states that taking one's heart and keeping it is about the worst thing you can do to a person. Maui agrees to help them out, but states that he needs his hook in order to do anything. The group sails their way to Laloa Tai to look for Tamatoa, who has the hook. Tamatoa suddenly appears and snatches up Kairi, Maui, and Moana. He explains his desire to take control of Te Fiti's heart. Kairi summons her Keyblade in response, and Tamatoa says he also wants her Keyblade as he likes shiny things, and that is brimming with light. He tries to snatch her Keyblade, but Kairi is simply able to summon it back. Tamatoa then states he'll need to get rid of them if he wants to take what they have. This then turns into a boss fight between Kairi and Tamatoa. After defeating Tamatoa, Maui is able to grab his hook and they flee. The group then gets on the boat to sail to Te Fiti. Kairi notices some darkness leaking out of the heart of Te Fiti, and suddenly a large group of Heartless appear in the direction where Te Fiti is. This triggers a minigame where Moana needs to sail past Heartless while Kairi fends them off. After the minigame, the group makes their way to Te Fiti, and Te Fiti attempts to attack them, but Maui turns himself into a giant whale to serve as a big foothold while Moana gets blown away. Now it turns into a boss fight with Maui as sort of an assist character against Te Fiti. After the boss fight, Te Fiti prepares to attack them, but stops when she notices Moana holding up her heart. Te Fiti rushes to Moana and Kairi is about to run to her aid, but Moana tells Kairi to stay still as she wants Te Fiti to come to her. Moana tries to place her heart back inside, but it seems that there is some dark corruption inside her and she begins to act crazy. Kairi steps in and blasts the darkness away with her Keyblade and helps return Te Fiti back to her original form. Te Fiti thanks the group for helping by restoring Maui's hook. Te Fiti goes back to sleep and Moana returns home. After this, you can get the Wave Rider Keyblade, which turns Kairi's Keyblade into a big hook staff, which is proficient with magic in water combat. Kairi receives a call on her gummy phone from Ienzo, who asks her to return to Radiant Garden as he has some news for her. Kairi makes her way to Radiant Garden. When she arrives, she is approached by Merlin, who tells her to stop by his house as he has something for her. Kairi stops by Merlin's house and sees the Final Fantasy game as they show their glee to see that she is okay. Kairi thanks them for taking care of her back in Kingdom Hearts 1 and for trying to find Sora. Merlin tells Kairi that he knows she plans to journey with Riku to find Sora, and as such, wants her to learn some new magic spells since he once taught Sora. Kairi then gains access to different high levels of magic like Mega Flare and Deep Freeze if she finishes certain training segments in the Secret Forest. This brings up a side thing you can do in the game, as you can start training segments with Merlin which send you to the Secret Forest so you can learn different forms of high level magic. With this, Kairi can gain access to different magic like Mega Flare and Deep Freeze if she can finish certain training segments while in the Secret Forest. More training segments become available the more you progress through the story. Kairi thanks Merlin and heads off to the castle Radiant Garden. When Kairi gets to the entrance of the castle, she meets up with Mickey, Donald, and Goofy. After exchanging pleasantries, Mickey tells Kairi that they are visiting Ansem the Wise, hoping he has something for them, and recalls to Kairi that this is where Mickey and Aqua first met and saved Kairi as a little girl. Kairi thanks Mickey again for helping her. Kairi then takes the time to talk to Donald and Goofy, who are feeling pretty down that they haven't found a single clue to where Sora is. Goofy states Sora is like their best pal as they have gone on multiple great adventures with him and now he's all alone. Donald states he greatly misses Sora and even states how he felt bad for his previous treatment of Sora, like making fun of him for not becoming a Keyblade Master. This is actually a pretty sad scene. Kairi and Mickey assure Donald and Goofy that they shouldn't feel too bad about the situation as Sora chose that for himself and that they will save him. Kairi makes her way to Ansem's study with Mickey, Donald, and Goofy, and Ansem tells the group that the code describes in better details on how Sora can save others, but the code also reveals how things could be reversed and others could save Sora. If a strong enough connection exists and there is some sort of physical intermediary, then that can create some physical bridge for a state of non-existence to a physical world. Mickey says he will deliver the information to Master Yen Sid and tells Kairi to complete her mission. Kairi heads out of the castle and suddenly hears a quiet voice speaking to her. Kairi looks around and she feels like she heard Sora's voice, but ignores it and walks away. Kairi makes her way to Treasure Planet or Solar Space. Kairi notices Jim Hawkins on a solar board. She notices that Jim is being chased by Heartless. Kairi summons her Keyblade glider and chases down the Heartless. After disposing of them, Jim thanks Kairi and he invites her to try the solar board. After trying a solar board minigame, Kairi and Jim see a horde of Heartless appear before them. After Kairi deals with them, Scroop arrives and Jim is completely surprised to see that he is still alive. Scroop explains that a certain witch suddenly appeared and helped him out in exchange for his loyalty, but refused and as such was left in the darkness. He eventually let darkness control him and he found his way out to seek revenge against Jim. He sends a horde of Heartless to attack his mom's inn and Kairi fends off the Heartless. After dealing with them, Scroop grabs Jim and runs away. Kairi grabs Jim's solar board and chases after them. Once she finishes chasing him, Scroop summons a dark door and holds Jim by the collar near it. He says he wants to drop Jim in the same place he was left in for such a long time. Kairi, thinking on her feet, casts Stopga on him and grabs Jim and brings him away from Scroop. Time resumes and Scroop says it doesn't matter even if they fight, he will simply grab Jim when he has the chance and throw him in. Kairi says it wouldn't be possible and shows something that Aqua had once taught her. Kairi summons a humongous barrier around the two so that they can fight. After the fight, Scroop tries charging at Kairi but simply slashes him away and undoes the barrier so he will fall back through the door. Kairi raises her Keyblade and summons a beam of light to close the door. Jim thanks Kairi and worries about Scroop getting back out. Kairi explains that after what she just did to the door, there's no way for him to get out. Jim thanks Kairi again and tells her she is welcome to come back anytime and maybe race against Jim on a solar board. With this, Kairi gets the Treasure Within Keyblade that can transform itself into a solar board that Kairi can use for combat. Kairi makes her way to Neverland and runs into Peter Pan. Kairi introduces herself and Peter Pan explains that they technically have met before back when he first met Sora. although she was unconscious the whole time. Kairi then realizes she was here before when Sora was trying to save her back in Kingdom Hearts 1. Peter Pan suggests that Kairi join him and the Lost Boys for an expedition. Peter Pan calls Tinker Bell, who is hesitant to do anything with Kairi because she is a girl, but once Peter Pan tells her that she is a special friend of Sora, Tinkerbell agrees. She gives Kairi a little bit of pixie dust, which allows her to fly and gives her double flight. Kairi and company make their way to Mermaid Lagoon, where Captain Hook shows up and says he will defeat Peter Pan. Captain Hook recognizes Kairi and points out that she was the pure light that Maleficent had captured 2 years ago. Kairi in response summons her Keyblade and says she's different. Captain Hook remarks how he is surprised she has a Keyblade and asks where Sora is. Peter Pan looks at Kairi, who is also curious to where he is. Kairi states he is lost right now, but she will find him. Captain Hook makes a sly and mean remark about Sora, which angers Kairi. Peter Pan calms her down and continues the expedition after running away from Hook. They find their old treasure chest and Kairi sees Ven's broken wooden Keyblade. Kairi asks what it is and Peter explains that it belonged to an old friend of his named Ventus who had left it with him. He explains how we also went out on an expedition with Aqua and hopes to see them again. Kairi also notices Terra's name written on the Keyblade and says she knows all 3 of them. At that time, Captain Hook summons a group of Heartless to ambush Kairi and the company and steal the chest. Captain Hook states that since Peter Pan took something that belonged to him, he will take something that belonged to Peter Pan. And if he wants it back, he will have to face him on his ship. He also tells Peter Pan to come alone. Kairi comes up with a plan to get back at Hook. Later on, Peter Pan shows up to Captain Hook's ship alone and prepares to duel, but first distracts him long enough by insulting him for the Lost Boys to take the chest and fly away. Kairi then drops down from above and it is now a boss fight between Captain Hook and Kairi with Peter Pan as an assist character. Upon defeat, Captain Hook then states if this is the best Kairi can do, then she has no chance of saving, in his words, that scurvy brat. Kairi gets infuriated by this and blasts him with Pearl. She intended for the blast to be not that big, but for some reason it was massive. It knocked Hook into the water where he is chased away by the crocodile. After returning to land, Kairi states that she now has to leave as she still needs to save Sora. She tells Peter Pan that when they save Sora, she will bring him, Ven, Terra, and Aqua to Neverland for an expedition. Peter Pan loves that idea, and with that, Kairi gets the Fairy Harp Keyblade and can transform her Keyblade into a dagger and a mini cannon. Kairi suddenly gets a call from a gummy phone from Aqua to come and see her at the Land of Departure. She stops by the Land of Departure and Aqua takes a good look at her and feels like she is definitely strong enough now to save Sora. She wants Kairi to test out some of her new abilities. She calls Ven to do a sparring match with her. After the sparring match, Aqua tells Kairi that she should rest up before heading back to Master Yensid's. Before Kairi can leave, Aqua asks Kairi to stay there and wants to show her something at night. Kairi follows Aqua to the summit and asks her to look up at the stars. She begins to tell Kairi about how she can understand how she feels. She knows what it's like to have your friends get lost in front of you and feel helpless. And about how, while she was in the realm of darkness, all she wanted was to spend a night underneath the same stars as her friends Terra and Ventus just one more time. And remarks how they all have something so simple like that. Roxas, Axel, and Xion just want to watch the sunset, and her Sora and Riku just want to watch the waves crash back and forth on the beach. With that, Kairi gets the glide ability. After this, Kairi heads back to Destiny Islands and stands at the shores of the beach. She begins to look at the mini island that her and Sora would sit on where the papu fruit tree is. Riku then shows up and asks why doesn't she go there since she'd probably be more comfortable. Kairi states that she refuses to go over there until Sora comes back. Riku explains that Kairi shouldn't punish herself like this, but Kairi states that she has no choice but to feel like that since she still feels like it was her fault. Kairi heads up to the mysterious tower and sees everyone waiting in Master Yensid's chambers. Yensid states that he feels it would be much better if Riku and Kairi had a team with them, and she will have the team consist of her, Riku, Axel, Roxas, and Aqua. Yensid then explains how they will go about rescuing Sora. First, they will open up Kairi's dreams, as she has had dreams of the final world, and since that is the edge of sleep and death, they will use that to have Kairi's dreams put them to a place that exists beyond death. Then Riku will use his dreams to send them to the exact place that was in Riku's dreams, and that they should encounter a third key who has made it possible to save Sora wherever he is. The group does some last minute preparations, and while they are doing that, Yensid tells Kairi to be wary of her light, and states even though she is a pure light and therefore cannot fall to darkness, a pure light that shows dark traits can prove itself to be more dangerous than any dark force. Kairi acknowledges this, and the Sora Vanguard squad heads out, with the other Guardians wishing them good luck. After diving past the final world, the group is surrounded by darkness. Riku then opens up his dream and has a clear opening to Shinjuku Ward. Before they can easily dive in, something seems to separate the group really quick. All Kairi can see in front of her for a brief second is Sora's backside, and as he starts to turn around, it begins to fade to black. It then cuts to Riku, who wakes up in Shinjuku Ward. Riku realizes that he has lost the group and begins to panic. He decides it'd be best to just follow his heart, which will lead him to Kairi. Riku is then approached by Yozora. Riku remarks how they look alike and asks,
"Who are you?"
Yozora ignores the question and asks, Riku summons his Keyblade and says,
"You know Sora?"
Yozora states, Riku's eyes filled with rage and is about to attack Yozora and prepares to charge Yozora when a woman in a fox mask appears and says,
I told him to. Because we want to save him.
Riku asks who they are and they both introduce themselves and Riku introduces himself. Ava states,
Once you wake up, find your friends. And then find Sora.
Riku suddenly crystallizes and he wakes up in Shibuya with Kairi. Kairi and Riku then journey through Shibuya looking for both their teammates and Sora, with Shibuya being slightly explorable and a portal being behind them just in case they want to go back to Yensid's tower. While exploring Shibuya, Riku and Kairi encounter Gigas, who serve as the main enemies for this area. While exploring, Riku technically isn't a party member but just an assist character that tags along with you. Riku and Kairi eventually make their way to the 104 building.
Is this the place?
Yes, I know he's here somewhere.
Kairi and Riku can feel traces of their friends in another location.
Wow, looks like she's handling her light really well.
But it's not enough, isn't it?
Nope, but she's almost there. You're close to having your wish fulfilled, but she needs a little bit more experience.
A little bit more.
You can always ask a friend to keep you posted on her progress.
Just a little bit more. They find Roxas, Axel, and Aqua asleep and wake them up. They mention how they felt something was amiss with a weird building they just saw. The group heads back there and is posted up in front of the entrance to the 104 building. Kairi approaches the 104 building. Just as Kairi is about to open the door, something quickly rushes by and knocks everyone else out. Kairi rushes to see if they're okay, and she notices something standing a little bit away from her, and it's Sora. She starts to run to him, but notices his dark hands and a dark aura. What's wrong, Kairi? Don't you like my appearance?
Sora? What happened? Who did this to you?
I chose this. This strength led me back to you. To me.
You are not Sora. You wouldn't give in to the darkness like this.
I can prove it to you. I am Sora. Sora summons his Keyblade and challenges Kairi to a fight at Scrambled Crossing. After the difficult boss fight, the group wakes up and sees Kairi pointing her Keyblade at a dark Sora. Riku and Aqua flash back to the time when they had to deal with Aqua being anti-Aqua. Sora notices them getting up and yells, "Doesn't matter how much help you have. Nothing can top my power. The power of darkness." Kairi says,
You're wrong, Sora. Your power isn't with darkness.
At this point, Kairi starts glowing along with her teammates next to her, and visions of the rest of the Guardians appear, and Kairi yells,
Your friends are your power.
She blasts Sora with a beam of light and suddenly changes back into regular Sora. Sora falls behind, but Riku quickly catches him, and Riku says,
Let's go home.
when suddenly Yozora shows up and says,
Hold it!
Sora notices him and tries to summon his Keyblade and explains how he attacked him, saying he wanted to save him, but Yozora explains that it was necessary and Riku affirms him. Ava then interjects and says,
We need you to do something for us.
How did I live in a kingdom of thieves? And people who say things they don't really.
In the epilogue to this game, it shows Ira, Aced, Gula, Envy, and Lushu with the box and Scala Kylum. Aced asks what this place is, and Lushu takes his Keyblade and shoots it at a keyhole, and a flash of light appears, and suddenly they're in the Foretellers meeting room. And Lushu says, don't you recognize this place? Lushu then starts to open the box, cut to black. No, I don't anticipate a secret ending for this, since the next game is probably Verum Rex, and there could be no way to lead into that game from Kingdom Hearts Reconnect. So to start, the difficulty in this game ranges from beginner, standard, proud, and critical. So your HUD will consist of an HP and MP bar, of course, and an EX bar. If that looks familiar, it was the prototype orange bar from early Kingdom Hearts 3 trailers. The EX bar allows you to perform limit attacks and Keyblade transformations. The max amount your gauge can be is 7. Grand Magic will cost 1 bar. Limits like 7 Wishes, Heart of the Princess, Flower Shoot, high levels of magic like Mega Flare will cost 3 bars. Keyblade transformations and special attacks catered to Destiny Embrace will cost 4. Speaking of Keyblade transformations, the Keyblade transformations will last for about 30 seconds. Think of them like Link styles from Dream Drop Distance. The command menu will be pretty simple: attack, magic, items, and special, which is where you can do the level 1, 2, 3, and 4 EX attacks. The game will have Moogle shops and standard abilities that come from leveling up, and what abilities you get will be determined by what choices you make in the game's tutorial. There's a reports section to help you with completion. There's also customizations to quickly heal yourself or use magic with shortcuts. The special menu items cannot be put in customizations and must be selected manually like dry forms. And of course, there are treasures to collect, and there will be no synthesis, and there will also be a game record section to serve as a checklist for minigames. And speaking of minigames, this game of course will have minigames. Not every world will have minigames, but I will definitely point out the extras in every world. So in Dunbrook, there's an archery minigame where the goal is to hit multiple targets and try and get a bullseye. In Olympus, there's the Colosseum, don't need to explain that. In Treasure Planet or Solar Space, there is a solar board racing game where Kairi can ride on a solar board through a course and tries to do it as fast as possible. And in Moana, there is a minigame where Moana pilots a boat through a course at sea, and Kairi needs to eliminate as many enemies as possible. There's magic and Keyblade transformation training at Radiant Garden, which sends you to the Secret Forest and the Land of Departure respectively. Activating the tutorial from this menu will send you to the final world in Kingdom Hearts 3. Also, there is an ultimate weapon in this game which can be obtained from completing every cup in Olympus. Lastly, there is a New Game Plus mode where you can transfer abilities, Keyblades, and your EX gauge. And lastly, there will be extra bosses / secret bosses that will be found in the Land of Departure. If Kairi heads over to the Land of Departure and looks at the crystal behind the chairs in the Land of Departure throne room, she will be able to activate a boss fight with all of the Keyblade wielding Guardians of Light with the exception of course, Sora. All these boss fights will give her neat little bonuses like farmable Mega Elixirs or AP boost or MP boost or strength boost, so on and so forth. If Kairi can beat all of them, she gains access to the Bright Crest Keyblade. And if Kairi can beat all of the cups in Olympus, including the last one which is scaled to level 99, she gets the Power of Radiance and Shadow Keyblade. Oh my god, it's finally over. Okay, guys, if you don't know, I have been planning this video since a year ago, since Kingdom Hearts 3 came out. And I told you before I wanted to wait till Remind came out before I actually made this video, okay? This video is very near and dear to my heart. I put in a lot of time and effort in this, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this. This was an incredibly tough video to make, and there was just so many trials, so many points where I almost decided to give up, but I decided to go through with it. I just received so much continuous support from a lot of the different people in my community, and honestly, I just gotta thank a handful of people right now who have made this video possible. Without them, this video would not have been able to be the great video that it currently is. So, first on the list is Kristen Archer. Thank you so much for providing the voice of Kairi for this video. You definitely hit the nail on the head with Kairi's voice. You know, I really felt like I was listening to Allison Stoner. I also gotta thank my boy, Low-Key Matt, for providing the voice for Riku. I know I kind of came to you out of nowhere with that request to do Riku's voice, and I thank you so much, my friend, for doing the voice work for me. You did an absolutely amazing job. I also want to thank my boy Lunar Lux for the voice of Yozora. I know it was tough for you to provide for me those voice works because of just how busy your schedule was, and I truly appreciate you doing that for me. I truly do. Next person to thank is actually a girl I know on Discord known as HolleighLuja. Thank you for providing the voice for Master Ava. I didn't know who to go to when it came to female voice work, and I am so glad that my good friend The Secret Reports recommended you to me, because you did an absolutely amazing job. Also, thank you to The Secret Reports for providing extra support for this video. I also have to thank one of my longest YouTube friends, Samurai Kibiji, for providing the voice for the Master of Masters. Dude, you sounded just like Ray Chase. Oh my goodness, you are amazing. And I really got to thank you all for providing the voice work. I also need to thank my boy 13th Vessel for providing some of the extra footage in Shibuya for me. If you couldn't tell, those screenshots of Shibuya that I put in the video, and even the clip of Kairi fighting in the air during the trailer, those were all clips that 13th Vessel brought to me of Kairi being in Shibuya for the sake of this video. So 13th Vessel, thank you so much for your support. I truly appreciate it. Also, I really want to give a big shout out to a YouTuber known as Charlie Co. He is an amazing artist who does a lot of fan work for the Kingdom Hearts community and does different, storyboards and different quick little animations for the Kingdom Hearts community. It's actually where I kind of got the idea for a Darkling or an Anti-Sora was from his video, because I used his clips from the Darkling Sora Part 1 and just a little bit more. The video of, Kairi and Riku in Shibuya and the Master and Sora watching it from atop. Those videos I implemented into the video, and I thank you so much for that video and allowing me to be able to put that in my video to further the story for Reconnect. So Charlie Co, you are amazing. Thank you so much. You do such amazing work for this community, and please keep it up. I also need to thank a handful of other people who provided continuous support for me throughout this video, because like I said, there were a lot of times where I felt like giving up, and a lot of these people, they either gave me shout outs or they kept asking, you know, how's the video progress going along, and they showed their excitement to see the video. So I got to give a big shout out first of all to Volt Edits, my boy, also known as PlayStation. He has shouted out my Project Reconnect on one video, and he has continuously talked about in his Discord server how much he is excited for this video. So thank you, brother, so much for doing that. I also got to thank some other people I know, like Stir Become One, King Will, Prodigy, U3 also helped with the support for the video, and I honestly would not have been able to pull this video off without every single one of you guys. Thank you all just so much, and thank everyone. I thank everyone for taking their time to watch this video, because this was really a hard thing to do. Now, if you notice, there's a lot of different artwork that I put in this video, different artworks that I found on Google, on Reddit, on Twitter, that I felt would enhance the video. So even though I don't have the names of every single person, I will definitely, you know, provide links to all of their channels or wherever I got the source from. For, you know, the artwork of Sora, Riku, and Kairi, for the menu art, where I got the artwork for the battle report, which you'll see in a second, where I got the artwork for the different keyblades that you will get from completing the different worlds in Reconnect. I thank every single one of you, because I really didn't know what to do when it came to that, because I'm not an artist, so I didn't know how to come about with a keyblade for a world, and then I came across those, and thank you all for those pieces of art. Really, thank you so much. So if you have the time, maybe you should check out some of my other videos. I know I really haven't been uploading that much, but you know, Reconnect was taking a lot of my time. But now that Reconnect is done, I should be going back into a more continuous and consistent flow of YouTube videos. I do have another theory video coming out soon, so please be on the lookout for that. I also want to thank the people who made the Kingdom Hearts 3 remix known as the Pumpkins remix. I will leave a link to their channel in the description below for providing the intro song for the opening and the ending for Reconnect. But other than that, hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys, you know, check out my Twitter, my Twitch, and my Discord. Links for everything will be in the description below, and I'll probably also pin a comment for all that. Again, hope you guys enjoy this. Hope you guys rate, comment, and subscribe. Stay safe, stay awesome. This has been Noir Lil Bomber, and I am out. Oh boy, it's fun.